Plastic Expo. Gonna stop by a couple booths, do a couple product features. If you've never been to this kind of show, or this show in particular, and you bass fish, you gotta just go. This will be published after this one's over, but go to the one, plan to be at the one in Knoxville. See what we can find.
Couple quick things to show you. We've got 3 main new items at the Classic this year. First off, we've got an awesome little combo here. We're calling it the SMH worm and the SMH jig head. So Brian Latimer, one of our MLF pros, he's been working with us for a while now on this design. And really what happened was Brian came to us and he said, look, everybody fishes a shaky head, but nobody's done a new, cool take on a shaky head in a long time. So that's exactly what we did. So we started off with a new worm. So basically we wanted something, it's made out of Elastec, so you've got the durability, you've got the buoyancy. So we wanted a simple worm that just has a ton of action. So you'll notice that that really thin tail section with the end that's got a little bit of bulb to it, it just has a really good quiver in the water. So just even the lightest shake of the rod tip is gonna set that little worm off. And as you'll see, because of the buoyancy of Elastec, that worm is just gonna stand up on its end no matter what. You can drag it, hop it, anything, and that thing is just gonna stand up, and the lightest little twitches, that tail just goes crazy. So with the worm though, we also redesigned a new shaky head jig head. So there what you'll notice is very similar to some of our Shrooms jig heads. We used a similar welded keeper to keep that Elastec worm in its place. And because of the buoyancy, we can actually design a shaky head that doesn't need to be flat on the bottom. So you'll notice this is a very pointed shaky head design. It comes through cover a whole lot better than most shaky heads on the market, but it still is going to stand up whenever it hits the bottom. So awesome little combination there, the SMH jig head and the SMH worm, designed by Brian Latimer with us here at Z-Man, and it's going to be a home run. So next on the side of the aisle, we've got a new topwater bait for you guys. So if you remember the goat that we came out with last year, a lot of guys, when we came out with the goat, it's got a twin tail grub style. Immediately people started thinking topwater with this bait. Again, because of the durability and the buoyancy of Elastec, we decided, you know what? The goat and the billy goat makes for an awesome topwater bait, but why not use that same general design and redesign it for a toad style bait? So here what you'll notice is we've basically taken that goat design, but we've added some froggy features to it. We've added little toes on the back of the legs, added some warts along the body. You'll also notice that we've added some nice hook slots in it. So this thing is extremely weedless when you're fishing it around lily pads, any type of grass cover. It comes through really well. We've got a single slot on the bottom, and then we also have some fins on the top that you can either rig it with a double worm hook or a single worm hook, and it'll stay completely weedless. This also fishes really well on the back of a buzzbait too. I've had a lot of success with that so far. Again, same leg designs as what was on that goat, but the only difference is no other toad on the market is going to float when it hits the water. So even rigged with a 4 or 5/0 hook, that toad's going to stay floating when you pause it.
So I've done a bunch of videos with the billy goat showing how to do this exactly, and it floats it does float a 4/0 or a 5/0 grip pin hook. Handling it, that is actually more plastic, so it's going to float really easily.
Exactly. There's a little more bulk to this bait, so it still has tremendous castability, but because of that hook slot, you're still going to get a good hook penetration with the hook sets.
Awesome.
So,
can't wait to use it.
And if you want any more information about these products, you can go to zmanfishing.com.
Cool. Or the little stuff, because
that too.
Every video has Z-Man in it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Cool.
Appreciate it, Ryan.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This is supposed to be like one of those beautiful beaches in the world. It's a national park, and like the only way to get there. Not even when you're all season. So it'd be cool. It's kind of good if we got on the back.
Hey folks, I'm here with Nathan at the Berkley booth, and I know when I was walking through and they were setting up everything, I'm always a sucker for a good crayfish crankbait lure, and we got a couple here that caught my eye.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about these?
Yeah, so this is our Berkley Fritz side. It's a flat-sided crankbait that's kind of made a name for itself over the past couple of years in fishermen's boats. on the pro circuit. John Cox, right when we were releasing this bait, won an MLF tournament on it. So as you can see here, this is highlighting some of our crawfish colors. We have our HDs, Screen Crawl. Really, the name of the game of this bait is our better than balsa flash disc technology. So a lot of guys, when it came to flat-sided crankbaits, are tough to throw, especially on a bait caster setup. If you can see, it's tough to see here, but there's actually flash disc up under the bellies on these crankbaits. What that allows us to do is get the action of a typical balsa style crankbait and a flat side, but put it in a plastic package that's durable. It's going to give you a very consistent action that's tough to achieve sometimes with balsa style crankbaits. And again, casting distance. We know how big of a deal that is when you're fishing crankbaits.
It's a huge deal. I know, we have a number of kayak fishing tournaments that'll be on the Susquehanna River this year. They're mostly in the summertime, and getting distance between you and where you think they are is everything, because it gets low and clear. Yep. I mean, most of this fishery is less than 4 feet, but a lot of these fish get up into like inches of water, and they can see. I mean, people stand up in the kayak and they're drifting through an area, and you stand up and they scatter. So casting distance is important.
Right.
But then you also transition to where the ledges drop off, and it does pay to have a variety of different depths. Some of those deeper ones excite me.
And even on, so you can see here, again, it's tough to see with these being bright, but in the 7 and the 9, you can see that weight there in the bill. So that's going to help you dive deeper faster with that weight disc in the bill.
Okay, what is the weight? I mean, just a little piece of metal in there?
Correct.
Yeah?
Yep.
Very cool. Nathan, I appreciate you showing these to me. Are these available now?
They are. So they're available, all your big retailers. They're available online. Tackle Warehouse, Tackle Addict, Bass Pro Shops, Walmart, Academy. On your stores, you go get your normal tackle, you should be able to find these guys.
Cool. Berkley. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
I have a question about using fluorocarbon on braid as a leader. And I see people using, 2 foot, and I see people doing crazy stuff where they got like 20 foot.
Sure.
Most people are in that 4 to 6 foot range. What's the right length, and what's the right way to select a good leader material, fluorocarbon leader material to attach to braid?
Sure, and there's a lot that goes into that, and different techniques require different materials. And when I'm fishing deeper water and I need a higher sink rate, I'm going to run a long leader. I will. I've spent a lot of time living out west. I'm throwing baits into 30, 40 foot of water, and I'm running 20, 30 foot leaders off of my braid, because I don't want braid sinking down in the water column and spooking fish in super clear water. There's also times where I'm running fluorocarbon leaders that are only 4, 5, 6 feet long. I think one of the things people struggle with is they're trying to use the same fluorocarbon leader for both of those. And when you deal with fluorocarbon's a very dense polymer. And if you don't give that fluorocarbon room to stretch, and you're using a very dense, very, very stiff fluorocarbon line over 2 foot, you actually run risk of break off a lot more than you would if you gave that same fluorocarbon 10 feet to stretch on. That's why companies like Seaguar have specific leader lines. Those leader lines are designed to be a little more supple, have a little more stretch to them, so that you can run a gold label against 4 or 5 foot of leader line, and there's plenty of room for that line to stretch. You don't risk those breakoffs.
So I think that one of the issues that I've experienced when you have that longer leader line is not related to the leader itself, but the beating that the braid takes going through the guys. And I hear it going up through there repeatedly, especially if I'm throwing something that's cast and retrieve, not a jig or something that you put out there and you move slow, something that has a high cast rate.
Sure.
Any comments on that other than just you got to retie all the time?
Not necessarily. So there's some things that I've borrowed from the fly fishing world to help with this. There's actually UV knot sealants that you can buy. So for one, first and foremost, you want to pick a knot that has a very small diameter, the smallest diameter you can. I'm using an Albright knot, a modified Albright knot. I've been using that knot for 10 years. When it fails, I tied it wrong, and I know that. A lot of people like the FG knot. I find the FG knot a little tougher to tie, and I can tie that Albright knot really quickly on the water, so that's why I stick with it.
Right.
But you get a very loud click through the guides with that Albright knot. To combat that, I'm using a UV knot sealer. I'll actually seal that knot with it. It gives it a nice smooth coating, and it's going to cast through those guides a lot better.
Okay. And at Dugout here, you guys have a huge selection. Obviously, you're selling all this at the show, but
yep.
You know, if someone wanted to call up the shop and talk with someone about selecting the right thing and having some shipped out to them, how are they doing that?
You can come visit us at dugoutfishing.com. Dugoutfishing.com, we've got a selection of fluorocarbon from Seagar. We even still have some bulk spools of Seagar left, which is kind of tough to find right now. Or you can come shop our store in Marietta, Georgia. We're located off I-75 in Marietta.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Hey folks, I'm at the St. Croix booth with Andy, and he's going to tell us a little bit about your next purchase.
I believe so. I believe this is going to be the next thing I get from St. Croix. I love their rods and been on their pro staff for a couple of years now. This is the new Legend Tournament Series. You'll recognize the blue finish on the rods just like the old one. These are a little bit of a reimagined rod, a little bit of improvement in the graphite. This is going to be your flip jack crank rod is what they named it. This is a 7.3 heavy power, moderate fast action. Depending on what line you put on this rod, it's going to be a really, really versatile rod. You could throw a frog on it. You could throw a heavy chatterbait on it. You could flip with it. Just a lot of different applications. For a kayak angler like me, you like to have a versatile rod like this on the boat, or maybe 2 or 3, so you can use a lot of different techniques with one rod and get comfortable with it.
You listed a bunch of different presentations. What's your number one on this rod?
On this rod, I think I would probably flip with it. I think I would just flip Texas rigs with it. It's got enough backbone in it with that heavy power to pitch into heavy cover, and then with a moderate fast tip, you can really jack them. If you got a straight shank hook on there, you can really lay into one.
Favorite fishery to flip, close to home or not? Where is that?
As far as close to home, I would say there's a little private lake, or it's not a private lake, but it's a small public lake that's going to go unnamed that has a bunch of 8-pounders in it. As far as a public lake, I'd probably say Chicken Rock.
Cool. Appreciate it, Andy.
All right, thank you.
I can't leave this booth without talking about my favorite rod ever. It's what I caught the new personal best 2 days ago. 8-pound, 1 ounce. The Legend Extreme spinning rods, and I'm just grabbing one here. The one I have is 7 foot. 7 foot medium fast. I just grabbed one that's 6'8", medium power, extra fast, whatever. They have the carbon fiber guides. It's just crazy sensitive, and I was actually fishing a quarry recently with a 16th ounce hair jig, and I know it was 30 feet deep because I had the I had the depth finder on. I threw that 16th ounce hair jig out, and it fell and it fell and it fell, and I felt a pop, and I set the hook, and I did it like on 3 successive casts. I was just feeling it hit the rocky bottom, and I was fooled. I thought they were bites. So that tells you the kind of sensitivity. Why that's important on a rod like this, I mean, it helps me catch more fish. It really does. It is a crazy expensive rod. It's $630. Look at me. Sell 4 of the rods you have on eBay right now and buy one of these. No kidding. If you fish jigs, if you fish small, soft plastics where you need to feel the bite, those bigger, smarter fish will suck in that fluke in a way that you won't feel it unless you have something this sensitive. You might see it on the line. You may see the braided line with a fluorocarbon leader pop a little bit, but really light jig fishing, It doesn't get any better than that rod right there. I'm here with Drew, and he's going to talk to us about the Hercules swim bait.
Hercules, there we go, man. This thing is amazing. This is actually the color I was using here at the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship. And in pre-fishing, I caught a giant striper. It was crystal clear water. It worked incredible, crystal clear. They could be good muddy water, but this was actually worked great in the clear water because they were running water. The current was going real strong. Second cast with this, I caught like a 15, 20-pound striper. Giant, towed me all around that little Crescent Ultralight kayak, little 10-footer. It was awesome, real fun. And on tournament day, I absolutely killed it on this bait right here. I caught 2 of my fish, a 19 1/4 inch spot and an 18 3/4 inch largemouth, real fat, healthy one. This was the key to doing really good. But what we love about this bait, this big, strong, solid hook, right? When you get a fish on this, you know, I throw straight braid. When I get a hook set on this fish and that embeds in them, they're not coming off. You can horse them and crank them in.
How many pound braid?
30-pound braid.
Okay.
And basically, what I love that about it, I also love the fact that it's a Last-Tech, and so it lasts forever, okay? Unless you lose this bait, you're gonna keep catching fish on it because it doesn't tear up, it doesn't break. You can add it, yeah, you can add a treble hook. I'm not doing this on this tournament, but it's a good one. I was running it straight, but then also the thing we love about it is the fact that, okay, normal plastics, you gotta rig on a belly weight hook, and sometimes they kind of, when you throw them, they sort of get a little bit tangled and mangled up a little bit. They kind of move or whatever. They don't always, you got to hook them perfectly because you got to rig the bait. So you actually have to hook it perfectly, dead center, no mistakes, right? And this one, it doesn't matter. It runs true. You chunk it out there, it runs true, pre-rigged. It's just incredible bait. I mean, I am so excited about this, and some new color patterns are going to come out with.
What colors would you recommend for other fisheries?
No doubt about these shad ones. I actually had this color. I didn't have any of the shad patterns, or else I would have used them. But these are the ones that mimic the bait fish I was seeing. You know, this size here. You could think about it. Throwing this on an A-rig. So think about that. Adding those to an A-rig.
That's a 4. We got a 5.
Yeah.
Did they say they were getting a 6?
They are going to come out with a 6. This is all breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. 6-inch Hercules. Z-Man is listening, and they're gonna make the 6-inch. So I'm excited. So.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, folks, I'm here with Todd from Pulse Fishing Lures, and this is actually the one that the young man on a video I shot on a lake down here recently ran up to his house and brought me one. So I saw your booth. I'm like, I got to come by and actually buy some. So
awesome.
Someone was kind enough to give one to me. And show me what you got. What's the best application for your own personal fishing for the Pulse Jig?
Pulse Jig? Yeah, so we've kind of revived the scrounger bait because this is in the scrounger bait category. We're the only company that makes these baits in 5 sizes and 7 colors. We've kind of compared it to a finesse bladed jig. A lot of times where you throw a bladed jig, you can come back behind and catch fish on this bait.
This has got the vibration, but it isn't quite as
It's more subtle. It's more finesse type deal. The way, and this Pulse Jig originated here at Lake Hartwell. There, several years ago, the owner that invented it at the time, he's been around a long time, and we're happy to carry on his legacy. But we build every one of these Pulse Jigs by hand in both of our shops. But if you can see the cup on the bill, that gives it the action, and that bill being straight up and down. These baits do not roll. You can cast them, they don't twist your line. You can reel them really fast, they don't roll. My personal favorite setup that I throw the biggest part of the time is a 3/8 ounce, which is this one here.
right.
Especially around here, Lake Hartwell, Lake Kiwi, Lake Lanier, these lakes that have spotted bass in them that get offshore. This is a great bait to throw offshore. This little 1/8 ounce, this 1/8 ounce is a player right now because places like Hartwell and Russell, where there's a herring spawn going on first thing in the morning, this little bait is a bite getter. You get on those clay points, and I always called it the red to green pattern. You follow the clay point till it drops out into the green water where it runs out and drops off.
Yeah.
Throw this little guy out there. It's amazing how many fish you'll catch for that.
From deep water, it's probably where the creek channel pulls away from the bank.
It is. Sometimes it'll make that little bend around of a point like that, and
Yep.
you'll see that transition from the clay where it drops off into that deeper water.
Very nice.
But these baits, they flat out catch fish. They get bites.
Well, I'm going to take them back home to Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania in particular, and they're going to catch some big Susquehanna River smallmouth. We'll see how they like them.
They absolutely will.
Cool.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
time.
it, Todd.
Yes, sir.
It's
Thank
always good to feature baits that are made here in the United States. These are made here in South Carolina.
you. Yep. You can check us out on pulsefishlures.com as well for our full line of all of our different baits.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.